Elena pushed open the front door with her hip, grocery bags hanging from both arms. The house smelled like warm bread and baby powder. She smiled, ready to see her twin boys playing with their blocks or laughing at something only they understood. But the house was too quiet. "Marcus," she called out. "Boys!" No answer came back. Just silence, thick and heavy like a blanket. Elena dropped the bags on the kitchen counter and walked toward the living room. Her heart started beating a little faster. Something felt wrong. Not dangerous wrong, but strange wrong. Like when you know someone is watching you, but you can't see them. Then she saw them. Her twin sons, Leo and Daniel, sat on the carpet facing each other. They weren't playing. They weren't moving. They were just staring, their blue eyes locked together like two mirrors reflecting forever. Neither boy blinked. Neither boy looked away. "Lau?" "Daniel." Elena's voice came out softer than she meant. The boys didn't move, didn't even glance at her. It was like she wasn't there at all. Elena felt a cold finger traced down her spine. She walked closer, her footsteps silent on the soft carpet. The twins were only 3 years old, but right now they looked ancient, serious, like they were sharing something important that no grown-up could understand. "Boys, what are you doing?" she asked again. Finally, Leo blinked. Then Daniel blinked, at exactly the same time. Then they both turned their heads toward her, moving together like one person split in two. "Playing Mama," they said together, their voices mixed into one sound. Elena forced a smile. "Playing what, sweethearts?" "Just playing," Daniel said. "With each other," Leo added. Then they looked back at each other and started staring again. Elena stood there for a long moment, watching them. Her hands felt cold. This wasn't normal, was it? She'd read all the books about twins. She knew they had special bonds, special connections. But this felt different. This felt like they were talking without words, like they were sharing secrets she couldn't hear. "Elena!" Marcus's voice came from the hallway. Her husband walked into the room, his work shirt still tucked in, his tie loose around his neck. "You're home. Did you get the—" He stopped when he saw her face. "What's wrong?" Elena pointed at the boys. "Look at them." Marcus looked. The twins were still locked in their staring contest, completely still except for their chests rising and falling with breath. "Yeah," Marcus said. "They're playing. They've been doing this every day," Elena whispered. "Every single day this week. They just sit and stare at each other for hours. They don't talk. They barely blink." "Marcus, something's not right." Marcus walked over and ruffled Leo's hair. The boy didn't react, didn't look up, just kept staring at his brother. "Twins are different, honey," Marcus said, his voice calm and easy. "They have a connection we don't understand. It's actually pretty amazing when you think about it." "It's not amazing," Elena said, her voice sharper than she wanted. "It's creepy." Marcus frowned. "Don't say that about our kids." "I'm not saying they're creepy. I'm saying this behavior is strange. Why won't they look away from each other? Why do they move at the same time? Marcus, they even breathe together. Watch their chests." Marcus watched. Sure enough, the twins' breathing matched perfectly. In and out, like one set of lungs working in two bodies. "Okay, that's a little weird," Marcus admitted. "But kids do weird things. Remember when Leo ate dirt for a whole month? We thought something was wrong, but the doctor said it was normal." "This isn't eating dirt," Elena said. I don't know what this is." Marcus put his hand on her shoulder. "You're tired. You've been working hard, taking care of them all day. Why don't you go take a bath? I'll make dinner." Elena wanted to argue. She wanted to grab Marcus by the shoulders and make him see what she saw. But she was tired. So tired. And maybe he was right. Maybe she was worrying too much. "Fine," she said. "But watch them tonight. Really watch them." Marcus nodded. "I will. I promise." That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house breathe around her. Marcus snored softly beside her, completely peaceful. But Elena's mind wouldn't stop spinning. She thought about the way the twins looked at each other. like they were talking a language only they knew, like they were sharing something secret, something important. At midnight, she heard a sound, soft footsteps padding down the hallway. Elena sat up slowly, careful not to wake Marcus. She slipped out of bed and tiptoed to the door. The hallway was dark, except for a thin line of light coming from under the nursery door. Her heart hammered in her chest as she walked toward it. The footsteps had stopped. Everything was silent again. Elena put her hand on the doorknob. It was cold under her palm. She turned it slowly, pushing the door open just a crack. Inside the nursery, the twins stood in their cribs, facing each other. The nightlight cast long shadows on the walls. Leo raised his right hand and pressed it to his chest. Daniel did the same thing, mirroring him perfectly. Then Leo tilted his head to the left. Daniel tilted his head to the right. They weren't just staring. They were moving together, dancing together without music, speaking together without words. Elena's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run in and pull them apart, but she couldn't move. She could only watch as her two baby boys performed their secret ritual in the dark. Then, as if they knew she was there, both twins slowly turned their heads toward the door, for blue eyes stared at her through the crack. Not surprised, not scared, just knowing. Elena stumbled backward, her hand over her mouth. She ran back to her bedroom and climbed into bed, pulling the covers up to her chin. Her whole body was shaking. Marcus mumbled something in his sleep and rolled over. Elena lay there in the dark, her eyes wide open, and knew one thing for certain. Something was very wrong with her children, and tomorrow she would find out what. Morning came too slowly. Elena had barely slept, and when she did, she dreamed of four blue eyes staring at her from the darkness. She got out of bed before Marcus woke up and went straight to the nursery. The twins were awake, sitting in their cribs. They were staring at each other again. "Good morning, my loves," Elena said, trying to keep her voice cheerful. "Morning, Mama," they said together, still not looking at her. Elena walked over and picked up Leo, then Daniel. She held them both close, feeling their warm little bodies against hers. They smelled like sleep and baby shampoo. For a moment, everything felt normal, safe. But then she put them down, and immediately they turned to face each other. The staring began again. Elena made breakfast with shaking hands. She poured cereal into bowls, sliced bananas, and poured juice. The whole time, she could feel the twins behind her, locked in their silent conversation. When Marcus came down for breakfast, he kissed her cheek and smiled. "See? Everything's fine. They're just normal kids." "Normal kids don't stare at each other for hours," Elena said quietly. Marcus sighed. "Elena, please, can we not do this again?" "Do what? Worry about our children?" "Turn normal behavior into a crisis," Marcus said. His voice had an edge to it now. "You're stressed. I get it. Being a mom is hard, but you're seeing problems where there aren't any." Elena felt anger rise in her chest like hot water. "I saw them last night, Marcus, in the nursery. They were moving together, like they were performing some kind of ritual." "A ritual?" Marcus laughed, but it wasn't a kind laugh. "They're 3 years old, Elena. They don't know what a ritual is." "Then what would you call it?" "Playing. Imagination. Being kids." Marcus grabbed his coffee and briefcase. "I have to go to work. We'll talk about this tonight when you're calmer." He left before Elena could respond. The front door closed with a loud bang that made her jump. Elena looked at the twins. They were still staring at each other, their cereal untouched. "Boys," she said softly, "why do you stare at each other like that?" Leo's eyes flickered toward her for just a second. "We're listening, Mama." "Listening to what?" "To each other," Daniel said. "But you're not talking." The twins looked at each other and smiled. The same smile at the same time. "We don't need talking," Leo said. Elena felt that cold finger on her spine again. "What do you mean?" But the boys had already returned to their staring. The conversation was over. That day dragged on like a long, dark tunnel. Elena tried to distract the twins with toys, with cartoons, with songs. Nothing worked. Every time she left them alone for even a minute, they would find each other and lock eyes. She called her sister Maria, hoping for advice or comfort. "Kids are weird," Maria said cheerfully. "My Tommy used to eat his boogers for a year. Now he's fine." "This is different," Elena insisted. "Different how?" Elena tried to explain, but as she talked, she realized how crazy she sounded. 2 kids looking at each other. That was it. That was the whole problem. When she said it out loud, it seemed silly, small, but it didn't feel small. It felt huge, terrifying. "Maybe you should take them to the doctor," Maria suggested, "just to be safe." Elena nodded, even though her sister couldn't see her. "Maybe I will." That night, after Marcus came home, and after dinner, and after baths, Elena made a decision. She would record the twins. She would get proof that something strange was happening. Then Marcus would have to believe her. She waited until everyone was asleep. Then she took her phone and crept down the hallway to the nursery. She pushed the door open as quietly as possible. The twins were awake, standing in their cribs, facing each other. Elena held up her phone and started recording. What she saw made her blood turn to ice. Leo raised his right hand slowly and placed it over his heart. Daniel did exactly the same thing with his left hand, like a perfect reflection. Then Leo touched his forehead. Daniel mirrored him. Then their cheeks. Then their stomachs. They were moving in perfect sync, not just copying, but anticipating, knowing what came next before it happened. Then they began to breathe together, but not normal breathing. They breathed in patterns. 3 short breaths, 1 long one. 2 quick breaths, pause. Over and over in the same rhythm. Elena's hands shook so badly the phone trembled, but she kept recording. The twins began to mouth words, but no sound came out. Their lips moved in perfect unison, forming shapes Elena couldn't understand. It looked like they were speaking, but in a language that had no sound, a language of silence. Then they stopped. Both boys turned their heads slowly toward Elena, for blue eyes found her in the darkness. "We're okay, Mama," they said together. "Not scared, not angry, just calm. Don't be afraid." "What are you doing?" Elena whispered, her voice breaking. "Remembering," Leo said. "Remembering what?" "Before," Daniel answered. "Before what?" The twins looked at each other again, and Elena saw something in their eyes. Something old. Something that didn't belong in 3-year-old faces. "Before we were 2, they said together. Elena ran from the room. She ran down the hallway, down the stairs, and into the living room. She sat on the couch, her whole body shaking, her phone clutched in her hand. She watched the video 3 times. Each time made her more certain. This wasn't normal. This wasn't just twins being twins. This was something else. Something deeper. When Marcus came down for water, he found her sitting in the dark. "Elena, what are you doing up?" She showed him the video without saying a word. Marcus watched it, his face lit by the phone's glow. When it ended, he was quiet for a long moment. They're just playing," he said, but his voice was uncertain now. Worried. "That's not playing," Elena said. "Marcus, please. Something is wrong. I need you to believe me." "I do believe you're scared," Marcus said carefully. "But I don't know what you want me to do." "Help me figure out what's happening," Elena said. "Help me understand why our children act like this." Marcus sat down beside her. He looked tired. "Old. Maybe it's genetic." "What do you mean?" "Twins run in families," Marcus said slowly. "Maybe this behavior does too." "Do twins run your family?" Elena asked. She realized she'd never thought to ask before. Marcus was quiet for so long that Elena thought he wouldn't answer. Then finally he spoke. "Yes," he whispered. "They do." Something in his voice made Elena's heart pound. "Marcus, what aren't you telling me?" "Nothing," he said quickly. "I'm not hiding anything." But Elena knew that tone. She'd been married to Marcus for 6 years. She knew when he was lying. "I'm going to find out," she said quietly. "With or without your help. I'm going to figure out what's happening to our boys." Marcus stood up. "I'm going back to bed. You should too." He left her sitting in the dark, alone with her phone and her fear. Elena looked at the video one more time. She watched her sons move together, breathe together, speak without speaking. And she knew what she had to do. Tomorrow, she would search the house. She would look through Marcus's things, his old boxes, his photographs. She would dig into his past. Because whatever was happening to their children, it had roots. Deep roots that reached back into a history Marcus didn't want to talk about. And Elena was going to uncover every secret, no matter how much it hurt. The next morning, Elena waited until Marcus left for work. She waited until the twins were playing quietly in the living room. Then she went upstairs to the attic. The attic was dusty and dark. Boxes were stacked everywhere, filled with old clothes, books, and memories Marcus never talked about. Elena pulled the string on the light bulb, and yellow light filled the space. She didn't know what she was looking for, just something, anything that would explain what was happening to her boys. Elena opened the first box. Old college textbooks. Nothing interesting. The second box had Marcus's baby clothes, tiny and yellow with age. The third box made her stop breathing. Photographs. Dozens and dozens of old photographs. Elena sat down on the dusty floor and pulled them out one by one. She saw Marcus as a baby, Marcus as a toddler, Marcus learning to ride a bike. But in every single photograph, there were two boys. Two identical boys with the same face, the same blue eyes, the same smile. Marcus had a twin brother. Elena's hands shook as she looked through more photos. The two boys playing in a sandbox. The two boys blowing out birthday candles together. The two boys standing by a lake, their arms around each other. But then the photographs changed. Suddenly, there was only one boy, only Marcus. And in every photo after that, he looked sad, empty, like half of him was missing. Elena found a newspaper clipping tucked between two photos. Her eyes scanned the headline, and her heart broke. Local boy drowns in lake. Twin brother survives. The article was short. 5-year-old boys playing by the water. One fell in. The other tried to save him, but couldn't. By the time help arrived, it was too late. Elena felt tears streaming down her face. Marcus had a twin brother who died. A twin brother he never mentioned, not once in 6 years of marriage. She heard footsteps on the attic stairs and quickly wiped her eyes. Marcus appeared in the doorway. His face went white when he saw the photographs spread across the floor. "You weren't supposed to find those," he said quietly. "You had a twin brother," Elena said. Her voice was steady even though she was shaking inside. "You had a twin brother, and you never told me." Marcus sat down on an old trunk. He looked at the floor, not at her. His name was Matthew. "What happened to him?" "He drowned when we were 5. Marcus's voice was flat, like he was talking about the weather. "We were playing by the lake. He fell in. I tried to grab him, but he was too far away. I screamed for help, but by the time my parents got there..." He stopped talking and closed his eyes. "Marcus, Elena whispered, 'I'm so sorry.' My parents never talked about him after that." Marcus continued. "They took down all his pictures. They gave away his toys. They acted like he never existed, like I was an only child. They said it was easier that way, that remembering hurt too much. But you remembered," Elena said. "Every day," Marcus said. "Every single day of my life. I remember him. We used to..." He stopped again, and this time his voice broke. "We used to have this thing, this way of communicating without talking. We would stare at each other and just know what the other was thinking. We would move together, breathe together. My parents thought it was cute." Elena felt ice flood through her veins, just like Leo and Daniel. Marcus looked up at her, and there were tears in his eyes. "When I first saw them doing it, I thought I was imagining things. But then it kept happening. The same stares, the same movements, the same breathing patterns. It's exactly what Matthew and I used to do." "That's not possible," Elena whispered. "I know," Marcus said, "but it's happening anyway." Elena picked up a photograph of 5-year-old Marcus with his arm around his brother. They were smiling, looking at each other instead of the camera. "You should have told me." "I couldn't," Marcus said. "Every time I tried, the words wouldn't come out. It hurt too much. And I thought if I didn't talk about it, maybe the boys would stop. Maybe it would just go away. But it didn't go away. No, Marcus said. It got stronger. They sat in silence for a long moment, surrounded by old photographs and buried memories. What does it mean? Elena finally asked. Why are they doing this? Marcus shook his head. I don't know. Maybe it's genetic. Maybe twins are programmed to communicate this way. Or maybe... He stopped. Maybe what? Maybe Matthew is still here somehow, Marcus whispered. Maybe he's speaking through them. Elena wanted to say that was crazy. Impossible. But after everything she'd seen, she wasn't sure what was possible anymore. They heard footsteps on the stairs again. Small footsteps. Leo and Daniel appeared in the attic doorway, holding hands. They looked at their parents, then at all the photographs on the floor. That's Daddy, Leo said, pointing at a picture. And that's Uncle Matthew, Daniel added. Elena and Marcus stared at their sons. How do you know his name? Marcus asked, his voice shaking. The twins looked at each other, then back at their father. He tells us, they said together, in the quiet place. What quiet place? Elena asked. Where we go when we stare, Leo explained. It's where all the twins go, Daniel said, to talk to each other. Marcus stood up and knelt in front of his sons. Can you give Uncle Matthew a message for me? The boys nodded. Marcus's voice cracked. Tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I tried to save him. Tell him I miss him every day. The twins closed their eyes for a moment. When they opened them, they smiled. He knows, Daddy, Leo said softly. He's not sad. He's happy you have us, Daniel added. He says we're his gift to you. Marcus pulled his sons into his arms and held them tight. His shoulders shook as he cried for the first time in years. For the brother he lost. For the pain he'd carried alone. For the miracle of his children who somehow carried a piece of that lost love forward. Elena joined them, wrapping her arms around all three. They sat there on the attic floor, surrounded by photographs and memories, and for the first time in days, Elena wasn't afraid. She understood now. The staring wasn't scary. It was sacred. It was a connection that ran deeper than words, deeper than life itself. It was a bond of twins, passed down through generations, a language of the soul that never truly died. That evening, they sat together in the living room. Marcus told Elena stories about Matthew, about the games they played, the secrets they shared, the way they knew each other better than anyone else in the world. The twins listened, staring at each other, and Elena knew they were filing these stories away in that quiet place where all twins meet. I won't hide it anymore, Marcus said, holding Elena's hand. I won't pretend Matthew didn't exist. The boys deserve to know about him, about where this gift comes from. And I won't be afraid anymore, Elena said. She looked at her sons, at their identical faces and knowing eyes. I'll help them understand it. Guide them. This is part of who they are. Leo and Daniel smiled at their parents, then at each other. Thank you, Mama, they said together. Thank you, Daddy. Elena made a promise to herself that night. She would never try to separate her sons. She would never break the bond they shared. She would protect their secret language, their quiet place, their sacred connection. Because some things are bigger than understanding. Some things are mysteries meant to be honored, not solved. And love, real love, doesn't die. It just changes form. It finds new hearts to live in, new souls to connect, new ways to say, I'm here, I remember, I'll never let you go. What would you do if your children shared a secret world you couldn't enter? Have you ever experienced a connection that felt deeper than words? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who loves mysterious tales, and subscribe for more emotionally powerful stories that will keep you reading late into the night. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from today and what you think the twins connection really means. We love hearing from you. Turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. See you in the next one.